Good afternoon, Brockton. This is Richard Ripley. Welcome to the 20th episode of my show, The BATBUSGUY. Today I'm here with Luz Villar. She's a candidate for mayor of Brockton, along with me and a few others. She's on today. We're going to talk about bus safety and about an initiative we're going to start about getting to the community to inform and educate the people about bus safety, more awareness out there. I'm going to begin by giving a brief address of what's going on. I know most of you know, but what's going on is on the buses. It's been going on since February 10th, 2022. There's a dangerous threat on the bus. So far, another one yesterday, so 114 people in Brockton have had their safety endangered by bus drivers who drive dangerously and aggressively. Recently, in the last few months, a couple of elderly grandmothers have been seriously hurt and put in the hospital. There's been a series of more dangerous and aggressive incidents for some people in Brockton. I myself have been a 4-time victim. So I wanted to start this conversation today with Luz by asking you, I know we talked about last week about the threat. I informed you, and I think I opened your eyes to what's going on in the city about the buses, because it's hard for me to reach most of the people, you know. But anyway, we talked about, I showed you the letter from the city where they investigated, the city solicitor, and BAT and the city investigated the problem. They admitted there were problems on boarding and deboarding, but the city also stated in the letter that it's not a city problem, it is a BAT bus problem. And I wanted to get your input on how do you feel about that? When there's a dangerous threat like this in the city, that's been going on as long as it has, and it's all documented, does the city have a responsibility to address it? I mean, it's happening in the city to the people of Brockton. Does the city have a responsibility, in your opinion? How do you feel about that?
Yes. So in short, yes, the city always has a responsibility to respond and take care of and protect their constituents. So I'll say that in short. But really quickly, my name is pronounced Luz.
Luz, I'm sorry.
Luz Villar, like loose change, you know? You're good. You're great, Richard. I really appreciate the space and as you mentioned, the initiative that we're going to launch and really move forward.
I'm going to let you talk about that because you know I'm not a politician. I don't know the technical terms for all the things we're going to do.
Yeah.
And well, you talk much better than I do.
You're a great orator. I'm not a politician. I am a public servant, I would say, an advocate, somebody who I was born in Brockton. I grew up here. And I was the person, and I come from the family that's been pushed to the sidelines, not heard, not seemed worthy of the establishment and the people that do make the decisions in this city.
I know how that feels.
Yes, which is why immediately I connected with you. I can feel your passion and I hear what you are saying, and which is why I went to your home and met with you, and you have such a beautiful home. There is so much to you than what we see online. And so I'm really happy that you welcomed me in to share that. And some of the things that I was sharing with you, what Richard is referring to is called a public education campaign. And I've talked to a few folks about that. People who are very passionate and informed about particular topics that can actually teach folks like us or anybody who's running for office or already in office about the issue. Who understands the situation more than the people that are in it every single day? So you are not someone who just sees the issue and you're banging the drum on bus safety. You ride the bus. You live with our elders. You live within the community. You see the impacts, the tragedy, the pain, everything that's coming from riding the bus and the mishandling, the response, the lack of care, what it feels like. But at the same time, I will say this, Richard, because I've worked in government. I've been the client that receives the services, direct services provider. And I will say that I understand from the administrative standpoint of the elected officials, what's on their plate, their staff, and how much they're doing. So, you know, there's a couple questions that come to mind for me, you know, bandwidth versus the actual resources, and then jurisdiction to reply. And in the letter you showed me and what I know about how the bus works and Brockton's responsibility in it is that, yes, it's a state agency, right?
It's a
state
entity, and they have responsibility. But and I understand the city saying that, okay, it's basically a BAT management issue, but the fact that BAT refuses to respond to it it has to be a city issue, because the solution can't be for the city to say, okay, it's not our problem, it's up to BAT to address it. And then when BAT says, no, we're not going to address it, and they have, and MassDOT said the same thing, I have the emails, that they don't feel that that the public needs to be informed. But this has been going on so long, and the recent serious injuries to a couple of grandmothers, it puts it back to the city. The solution can't be for the city of Brockton, and when I say the city of Brockton, I mean the mayor, the police chief, and all the city councilors. The solution can't be for them to say, sorry, there's nothing we can do. These are your constituents. These are good, honest, hardworking people in Brockton whose lives are being endangered.
Yeah.
You must step in and address it. To say it's not our problem, and to know that the people out there are getting on the bus, not aware of the threat, and you know it, and you're putting them in harm's way. I just think that can't be the solution.
No, I mean, it's certainly not the solution, and there is more we can do about it. I understand jurisdiction, and if it's a state agency, Brockton can only do so much and actually tell someone what to do. But when you look at how you can respond to it and what the city can do, one, a simple statement of being aware of it, I think something...
I've told them a 5-minute statement,
Yeah.
and even better than that, the city council has the authority to issue a resolution. They've used it many times. You bring an entity, a person, before the city council in a full public meeting before the city council with the public, and you hold them accountable for whatever the issue is.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've asked them multiple times to do that, and they refuse to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear more about why or what the issue is, which is also why I'm running for mayor too. It's very much for similar reasons, Richard, of like the lack of response, what feels like lack of care, which don't attribute to malice, what could be attributed to incompetence, right? That's a real thing. However, at the same time, we're stepping up to get into the role and understand it from the inside out. It's very easy when you are on the outside as a constituent and you're asking for your elected officials and those who represent you that you elected, can you do this? Can you, do that? And to feel like it falls on deaf ears, that's going to warrant the response you've been giving. And because my whole platform, even prior to running for office, I worked nearly 10 years in government specifically with constituent services. And although we were not able to solve every issue, we made sure to address every issue. And that makes a difference, and I certainly know that. And so I say all that to say, which is why even as we talked about BATBUS safety, and I'm hearing you speak, and I've seen your videos, and your concerns are clearly valid, which is why I mentioned the public education campaign.
Yeah, I wonder if, like I said, you know all the technical fancy words to use to describe what we're going to go forward with. If you could just explain to the audience,
Yeah.
so you can do it much better. I could do it, but I'll screw it up. So.
No, you got this, and we're going to get better at this. But
And what I want to say is, I don't want to scare the people in Brockton. I just want to inform and educate them about their rights to get on a bus safely. I know a lot of people think, oh, you're in Brockton, you get on the bus, you're carrying groceries, you're carrying your baby, or you're an elderly person with a cane or a walker pulling your bag of groceries behind you. Many people, and this is very sad, they think that you get on the bus driver just hits the gas, moves the bus, you shake and you try to fall and hold on to something. They think that is totally normal, but it is not. It is not normal.
Yeah.
There are laws that protect you for that, and I want to express them to them and inform them of their rights, what the laws are, how to address it, how to respond to it, how to recognize it, so they can be safe on the bus.
Right.
Because I was a 4-time victim.
Yeah.
And I witnessed one time, I think I have the email at home, a young mother was carrying her infant child. She's trying to stand there, hold her baby, put the money in on the bus while the bus is moving all over the place. I mean, that is extremely dangerous.
Yes, no, absolutely.
And anyway, that's what I want to do in the community, and you're going to help us, so you describe it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as I said, because I understand what you were saying, I can see past the passion, and why I wanted to talk to you directly, because the public education campaign came to my mind. And once I shared that with you and you had asked, like, what is that? I've never heard of that before. That's actually the reaction I keep getting from folks. I have another young woman who is passionate about bringing awareness to the opioid crisis we're facing and those experiencing homelessness. And she knows so much about it because she was once homeless and addicted. And now she's recovered and doing so amazing for herself. She lives in my building. But I also shared the public education component of it. And who better, I have a master's from one of the best schools for policy. And who can tell, who to talk better about addiction and homelessness than the people actually in it. You know what I mean? So all that to say, I love that you're open to the public education campaign idea, and I can't wait to like really see it take off and you move forward with it, because what it is essentially is it could be a person, a body of people, an organization, anyone who is passionate and highly knowledgeable of a topic in an area, and to bring awareness to it. In Richard's case, the BAT bus and the safety. Something you mentioned to me was the main reason you wanted to involve your elected officials is because you wanted to be able to translate the information. Let people know what their laws are, their rights are.
In a language they understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't do that.
But we have tools and resources that can. And so for someone like myself, who is very easy, I could do the translation for you. I'm excited to do this with you and really see it take off and support you in that. Whether I win or not, my purpose and point of my campaign is to empower and educate people along the way. And so with this public, what we're going to call it, bus safety. We're still figuring out the title.
We'll come up with a term.
Yeah, something fancy or something, catchy. You're really good with that stuff,
I want to just interject here. I've addressed this with Moses Rodriguez and with Jean Bradley Derincourt. Moses Rodriguez represents the Cape Verdean community, and Jean Bradley Derincourt the Haitian community. And I went to them to ask for their help on just what we just said about I wanted to go into the community, the immigrant communities, and I wanted to inform and educate them about the threat on the bus. But I told them, look, they don't know me, I don't speak their language, they're not going to listen to me, of course I can't speak to them. I said, I want to work with you and like Moses, he's the executive director of the Cape Verdean Association. And I asked, could you have someone come in with me who can translate for me, and we can go in there and inform the people. I don't want to see anyone get hurt.
Yeah.
Neither one of them responded. And I don't understand that, how they could not respond to someone who's trying to do the right thing. And that really bothered me a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're also doing the best you can, the best way you know how. So you're going to the resources you know. But I can tell you through so many young people I work with, other organizations, Councilor Rodriguez and Councilor Bradley represent the city at large. So I totally understand that. Beyond the Haitian and Cape Verdean community, they also, speak English and other languages. So I completely understand. And I love that was your approach, right? You're trying to bring the top leaders in.
I tried, but they rebuffed me.
I hear that, but there's power in the people. And that's what I love about public education campaigns, that you don't need a fancy title or some fancy organization or fancy name to make people aware. So I've made a promise to Richard, and I'm working on it. I'm going to translate it into the main languages that we need. So what do we say? Certainly in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole,
and French.
And French, yes.
Those are the main languages. According to the law, that there have to be signs on the buses to address the people because they ride the bus.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll be doing that. And you'll be able to maybe even like on a small palm card like this, something as small as this in their language, and we pass it out to folks on the bus. But I would love to do that for you and build content. So after we get everything translated and we pass out the palm cards and it's in their language, who knows, we may be able to even do some content of like a day in the life and ride the bus. I would love to even, commute one day with you just to see what that's like. Although when there's a camera rolling, the treatment is a little bit different.
It's hard for me to get on the bus and do that because every bus driver knows me now. I've been told my picture is in the break room at the bus.
Let's get on together. Let's get on the bus together. We'll have to make a trip together, Richard.
Yeah, because when I started this 2 years ago, I had just arrived back in Brockton after being away for 51 years, I think. And I was just, I just retired, I'm disabled, I moved here. I was thinking, where do I want to move to spend the rest of my life? And I said, hey, let me go back home to Brockton. So I came here, I was just enjoying my retirement. Then I got threatened on the bus 4 times. The mayor wouldn't listen, the bus wouldn't listen, nobody would listen to me. And I said, this is wrong, I can't do this, I have to fight. So I ran for mayor, I was a nobody, no money, no nothing, no name, nothing. And I got 1% of the vote in the preliminary election. I was a nobody, but I stood up and did the right thing to try to make Brockton a little better because I don't want to see anyone get hurt. And I've been knocked on my butt quite a few times since in the last 2 years, but I've never given up. And now I'm starting to make much more progress with your help.
No, absolutely, and I'm glad I could help. I think there is so much there, and what you're talking about, there's so much validity to it, and just because certain people may not acknowledge it does not make it less credible of any sort. And so when you have because you also shared with me, if you don't mind speaking to the people fear retaliation.
Yes, what happened is this. I'll quickly tell you, because I want to leave you 10 minutes to talk. What happened is this. I live at Bel Air Towers in Brockton, 105 Bel Air Street. And when I first moved in there, and just before Thanksgiving, I went to their monthly Tenants Association meeting. And we all talked about, in fact, I didn't bring it up, they did, about the buses, how unsafe the buses are, how they get on the bus with their cane or their walker or they're pulling their bags of groceries. And this isn't every bus driver, I want to be clear. Many bus drivers are excellent. In fact, there's a group of bus drivers, when they see me, because I do a lot of walking, I don't take the bus that often, they see me and they beep their horn because they know what I'm doing is right, but they can't speak because they're bus drivers and they can't speak, they can't support me. But anyway, what happened is this, and a lady, she speaks Portuguese at Bel Air Tower, she's elderly and disabled. She got on the bus and she read the signs, and the signs in Portuguese directing her, if you need more time to find a seat, speak to the driver. She went to the bus driver speaking in Portuguese. The driver didn't know what she was saying. Didn't know what she was saying. So she had to struggle to find a seat and nearly fell down. And other people talked about how the bus drivers do the same thing. They move the bus. And what I found out is all the residents do support me in this effort, but they're scared of retaliation from BAT. They're afraid because right now the BAT bus stops at the front door. BAT, I guess before that, the bus used to stop off property down on Bel Air Street, which is like a little hill, and it's probably half a block away. And when you're elderly and you got a cane or a walker in inclement weather, and you got to walk all the way down there with groceries and come back with groceries, that's dangerous to them. And they're willing to risk their life to be possibly hurt. So the bus stops right there. They're afraid to speak because they don't want the buses to stop stopping at the main entrance. And that is no way for us to live. We should not fear retaliation.
Right, and be put in danger in that way.
Yes. Oh, and let me tell you this. One lady, she's on the Tenants Association board. I think she keeps the minutes of the meeting, or she does the opening prayer or something. And I was on the bus. She didn't see me. She got on the bus, and she had pulling her groceries, and the driver moved the bus. And this is the truth now. It's all documented. It's on the bus tape. I've asked BAT to bring those bus tapes to show at least the mayor and the city council have a private viewing so that they can see with their own eyes what I'm talking about. She got on. She was pulling her cart. He hit the gas. She was going down to the floor of the bus, and quick-thinking passengers jumped up and went underneath her and stopped her from hitting the floor of the bus. She could be in the hospital now. Yeah. But even after that, she refuses to speak up because she's willing to put up with that once in a while threat in order for the bus to stop it there. And that is no way for elderly people to live. We're all elderly. Yeah. We're all in our 60s, 70s, 80s. We're all have various problems, and we should not be afraid to speak up about safety because we fear retaliation.
Absolutely. Also, what kind of respect and care does it show on the city's behalf to our elders, who most of them have, served our country, have been our healthcare workers, our care providers, and so this.
I'm glad you said serve our country, because something came into my head.
Please share.
This happened on Saturday afternoon, April 12th. That's in my head. The bus was, we're at Walmart at Oak Street. The bus was going to from Walmart up to Oak Street to take a turn. There was an elderly disabled man in a wheelchair, but he wasn't in the chair. He was sort of had his foot on the ground. I guess he was trying to get up into the wheelchair. The driver pulled up and refused to put down that ramp for that gentleman. Later on, because I put his picture in my report, I put it online and gave it to the mayor and the city council and BAT. Someone responded, "Hey, I know that guy. He's a veteran. He's a Brockton veteran. He served our country. When the country called, he went and served to protect our freedom and fight for us." And his life was threatened. He got on. He had to struggle to get his chair up onto the bus. The driver just sat there, did nothing.
And no help.
He struggled to get to a spot on the bus where he just stood there. He wasn't sitting down, and the bus driver moved the bus again. And then I don't know if I said something to the driver or anything, but anyway, he finally, when the bus stopped at a red light on Oak Street and where Walmart is, he finally pushed his chair and he got to another place and he sat down. But that is a terrible, terrible thing to happen. And again, that is on the bus tape. I've asked BAT, I've asked the mayor, I've asked the city council, I sent them all the information. I said, I understand BAT can't publicly release the tapes to the general public because there's confidentiality and you can't release it. But they certainly can set up a private viewing for the mayor and the elected officials. They can be trusted because the mayor, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the mayor of Brockton is the chairman of BAT's advisory board, which oversees safety issues, and also is chairman of BAT's board of directors. Their highest elected official. So the mayor has influence.
Yes.
And when this happened with this veteran, I said, just talk to BAT. Set up this private interview so you can see with your own eyes what I'm telling you.
Yes.
They won't do it.
And it blows my mind because of how we regard veterans in Brockton. My grandfather's a veteran, Purple Heart recipient, my older brother as well, and I love driving through the city and we see our veterans and the posters we have up and how much we honor them, but then we hear stories like this and it's heartbreaking. I really appreciate that, Richard, and this is the perfect segue actually as well, because even as we've been talking about these issues and long before we met, I paid attention to your videos because I'm running for a seat to serve a constituency where if that is what is important to you, it's going to matter to me just as much as it would from any other constituent in any other ward. Our problems and what our constituents are dealing with is going to be different for everyone, but all of it is important to me. So I will start with that. Another thing I want to say, two more things before I go into my campaign. Earlier, you mentioned not having the language barrier. That is why we have the yellow line, the standing line.
Standee line, yes.
If you are still before that line, that bus cannot be taking off. I've been in cities where the bus driver is parked and they're like, until you're on the other side of this line, I will not
And
move
that's
this
a
bus.
federal law and state law.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
a federal law. Every bus driver has a duty of care to every passenger on that bus.
Yep.
But also the bus driver needs to be safe too. I want safety for the bus drivers and the passengers.
Yes, yes, and likewise. And then the second thing I want to speak to is that even if it is a state agency, they're operating in the city. And there is, you may not be able to tell people what to do, however, there's a culture that should be upkept in our city. And when it comes to our elected officials and how we take care of the city, the tone that they are setting for the rest of the people that come through here, that work here, some of these folks, I know BAT bus drivers that work here, but they don't even live here. So then that also, could be attributed to the lack of care and not really being considerate. But one thing I will say, even as when I came out of your apartment that day and we were outside in the front, I remember you mentioning the buses sometimes to retaliate won't even stop in front of the steps there. When the stairs and the ramp, that they'll go further down. I realized right in front of the stairs there isn't that the bus stop sign.
That the Brockton Housing Authority can't they say there's no money to hire someone to just stand there and tell the people to move along, because that's a spot specifically for the buses. And a lot of times, because I can see I'm on the 10th floor and I look down, when the bus drives up, there's parked cars that go by.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, they're backing up and they nearly hit the bus.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
I can see that. That area right there. So I was saying that to say that, BAT Bus may be a state agency, but Brockton, the city, is still, this is our home. And so when we look at, I may not be able to tell these folks what to do, but we do have jurisdiction over where that bus stop sign is. And if you put it back in front of the stairs, then it's illegal for them to go past the stairs. And then you know how they retaliate, and you said they'll stop further down so the folks have to walk a little further. But what's 2 or 3 feet may seem like nothing for us, but for someone who has a cane, walker, or just they need assistance walking alone, that will be arduous and in a long way for them. So, all that to say, this is something that is important to me too, not just because it's the bus, but safety for our constituents, period, but protecting our elders. Another issue that is important to me, and then I'll segue into my campaign, is the safety of those in the building alone. I have my grandparents and my elders in my life that live in some of these high-rise buildings.
And also, I want to quickly say the same thing. I got emails from people. The same thing is happening in the Campello high-rise and in the East Side Caffrey Towers. The same issues with the bus. Okay,
Yep.
you've got 6 minutes.
No, you're good. You literally took the words out of my mouth, because I've been talking to other folks as well and making my way around the city. And what you're raising is not a new concern, you know, and it's concerning overall. And so I will be quick. I have a 7-point plan for my campaign running for mayor. Vote lose Villar, September 16th. We got to make it through the primaries. And I would say just quickly overall, I'm focused on 7 things. And so that is accountability, focusing on transparency and trust by assessing all department internal controls. And a lot of that came from reading the audit that we got from the education department.
Oh, did you read the one? Oh my God, the audit's
I read through the
reading.
254 pages with a fine tooth comb, and I've actually turned it into a digestible 10-slide deck. So I would love to share that with you. Folks that read it, there's too many fancy words in there, but I had to make it digestible because what's in there is so important, and not everyone has
I'm
hours
like you.
to read.
I actually read it.
Yes.
I didn't read every single word. I skimmed it, but
No,
I know when
read
to stop.
You had to. Well, for me, you know, I'm running for the seat of mayor, and in it to win it, and I really want to respond to the people. So you have to understand all the nuances. So there's that. Out of that report alone, I went and did an assessment of all 31 departments, and there are about 13 departments with deficits I'm concerned about, and I've ranked them between low, moderate, high deficit levels, and what my floor mark is for that. But I won't bore you with that financial stuff. I am very much a nerd about data and interpreting the data to understand what is it really saying and how to address issues in practice. I think a lot of times things sound good in theory, and we may have a law or be able to throw all the political jargon out there, but to really understand something in practice and how it impacts people, that's the key. And so lastly, the other 6 points: public safety, education, economics, housing, healthcare, and infrastructure. That's my 7-point plan, and I'll continue to work, my way throughout the community and expand on those topics. But just to be brief for the sake of time, and what I'm focused on.
3 minutes.
And what I'm focused on, I did just want to say thank you to Richard Ripley. All he has done, every time he's ran for office, it is people like you that embolden people like myself, and who knows what my campaign may spark for someone else. But you do not need fancy titles or to know people with fancy jobs to feel empowered to run and protect your city, to empower your city, to teach and educate people what is available to them and what belongs to them. As a taxpayer, all of this belongs to you. And we're not utilizing it enough. And that's what I want my campaign to be and to teach people. And when elected, we're going to speak positively, when elected, if honored and elected by the people of Brockton, I would love to serve as your mayor and continue that consistency, the responsiveness, the integrity. I do not come from politics, right? But I learned to establish myself. And I very much grew up in these systems. I grew up in the foster care system. I knew at 9 years old, I thought every 9-year-old had a 15-year plan. I learned they don't. So at 9 years old, it was very clear. I knew I wanted to go to college. I'd be the first to graduate high school and go to college in my family, and that was a dream of mine.
I didn't go back to college till I was 40 years old.
There you go.
40.
It's never too late to learn. It's never too late, okay?
I was the oldest person there, but I helped everybody else.
That's
in the
amazing.
class.
Listen, when I just did my master's at Georgetown, there were folks older than 40, in those classes. Some folks were twice my age, and I've some of the best relationships I've built, and they've become like second parents to me. So.
I worked with the department heads in the hospitality division, and I would take my time to help the students understand everything.
Yeah.
I got letters at home from the college.
That's
on
amazing.
that.
And look how it comes full circle for you, Richard. So now I'm here to help you, right? All the technology and all the fancy stuff, even though I think he's great with videos. But that's what I want. That's what I want to do with this campaign. Lead it exactly as I would if I were mayor. And make sure that we're really bringing to the forefront the real issues of the city and addressing them. There is a solution for everything, and it will be difficult, but not impossible.
The city, we have about 30 seconds. Yeah, the city has to work together. The city council, the mayor, all have to work together. But the most important factor is you, the public. You have to get engaged and be involved. Hold your city councilors responsible. Attend the city council meetings. Attend the finance meetings, school committee meetings. And that's it. We're down to 2 seconds.
Love it. Thank you. Vote Villar, September 16th.